I was about to pack up and basically play chess for the night. I might have even played it online. And as I peruse Twitter just for a little bit, yes, distracted even from, backing up, I saw something that piqued my interest. Joe Biden in an interview with George Stephanopoulos. And George Stephanopoulos asked him a question about his agenda, meaning what you want to get accomplished. And Biden is like, what do you mean? He says, those people, they're going to stand in the way of me trying to get food to kids? And Stephanopoulos said, well, yeah, they're not going to back the agenda that you want. So, don't you have to make a choice between destroying the filibuster or getting your agenda accomplished? Meaning, if you don't destroy the agenda, the filibuster, they're never going to let you get what you want to accomplish. I know you don't want to do it, but don't you have to if that's what you really indeed want to do? And Joe Biden gives an interesting answer that up to this point he hasn't necessarily given. Full-throatedly, he says, we need to go back to standing filibusters. Basically, the people standing up for 12 hours and giving a speech and everything else. I'm going to let you hear it. I mean, don't take my word for it. Right here. It's dark, but I think they're doing that for the video. But let's see.
Aren't you going to have to choose? I know you've been reluctant to do away with the filibuster. Aren't you going to have to choose between preserving the filibuster and advancing your agenda?
Yes. But here's the choice. I don't think you have to eliminate the filibuster. You have to do it what it used to be when I first got to the Senate and back in the old days when you used to be around there. And that is that a filibuster, you had to stand up and command the floor. And you had to keep talking alone. You couldn't call for, no one could say, quorum call. Once you stopped talking, you lost that, and someone could move in and say, I moved the question of. So you got to work for the filibuster.
So you're for that reform. You're for bringing back the talking filibuster.
I am. That's what it was supposed to be. Look, I think, don't hold me to the numbers, George, but I think between 1960 and 2000, there were I'm making this number up, I don't know. There were 50 filibusters. And now they're like 200 since then. Since that
just put a hold on it, that's it.
Yeah, I mean, so the idea, it almost is getting to the point where there's, democracy's having a hard time functioning. And so, look, I'm not saying this is going to be easy, George, but I do believe there's enough Republicans over time who are going to have, look,
they haven't had that epiphany you said you were going to see in the campaign.
No, well, I've only been here 6 weeks, pal. Okay, give me a break. Been here 6 weeks. I think the epiphany is going to come between now and 2022. This is there's 78% of the people say they support this program. 52% of Republicans. Let's assume it's off by 15%. You're going to go home and campaign. Republican voters.
Here's the problem with this. You have to pursue that. And I've seen no capacity or ability of Joe Biden to pursue a case. At least not since he's been elected. I mean, what I mean by that is, say, for example, you put up $15 an hour minimum wage. Great. Say you really want that because you promised that to the heroes that died in those factories, in those stores, and everything else, ensuring that various people had the food that they needed to eat, meaning everybody else. How do you get that across as president? The House puts it in the bill. Manchin tries to take it out. You invite Manchin into the Oval Office and you have a conversation with Manchin. And at the end of that, Manchin needs to be on your side. Or if he is not on your side, you viciously and vindictively attack him with both barrels, saying that he is standing in the way of American agenda and that he is taking food out of the mouths of babies. And tell him about the food bank. I was at the food bank and I saw how mothers needed this money, and Joe Manchin is standing in the way in order to put a knife in workers. That's what you do. That's what you say. That's when you mean it. You don't say anything when you don't mean it. And when they take it out the bill, you don't say anything when you don't mean it. And then they pass the stimulus and you just ignore the fact that the $15 an hour wasn't there. You act differently when you mean it. That's my point. And if Joe Biden is making this argument about he's going to, the Republicans are going to come over to my side, who's going to pursue the case? That's the question. And is it going to be Joe Biden pursuing the case almost as if he's a candidate, or is it going to be other people on the campaign trail? I don't believe for a moment that Joe Biden has the stamina to go from pillar to post, hitting one campaign after the next to give those people whatever the gravitas that he has in that office. Don't buy it one iota. So, who's going to pursue the case? It's not as simple as, well, it's intellectually true, and so people will just go for it. If that was true, you can make a case that says, well, Donald Trump had gotten elected. What, 60% of the people who voted for Trump said he didn't live up to the office or the standards of the office, or he wasn't fit for the office or couldn't do the job. They didn't believe he could do the job. I mean, that's astonishing, but they still voted for him. So people make choices and decisions that go beyond necessarily that's the pragmatically right thing to do. There's all sorts of reasons people do those things, but you can't just leave it up to the person's own guidance. No, you have to pursue that case. Biden, I don't think it has it in him to pursue. By the same token, that's big news. Because what that means is that Joe Manchin, who's in the Senate, who says he's open to changing the filibuster, and now the President of the United States says he's open to changing the filibuster, and depending upon the other people who are in the Senate, the question becomes, are they open to changing the filibuster? Chuck Schumer seems like he could be influenceable, so will he do it? I will say this. The number of filibusters have become so obscene that the chart is almost like a straight line upward. And, at one point, you could only have one pathway in regards to the legislation. And so the number of filibusters were relatively low. The moment that you start having multiple pathways, well, a person can filibuster one or two and allow other ones to go through so the filibuster can be sustained for longer. Not to mention, you don't have to do the standing. None of that stuff goes through. You made it easy to obstruct. And a minority who at this point has gotten to the point of party over the population, well, it's not about enacting policy. It's not about doing the best in the best interest of the American public. It's not even about loyal opposition and working with the other party that won, that America chose, to try to make things better. No. It's an adversarial process that have gone off the rails where the only thing that matters is winning or destroying the other party and preventing the other party from accomplishing whatever they're trying to accomplish. That, by the way, they're trying to accomplish for America. That's our political system now. That's the way these guys function. Mitch McConnell comes out and says this. Now, I'm not sure which one came first. I think McConnell came first, but I'm not quite certain. But listen to McConnell.
So let me say this very clearly for all 99 of my colleagues. Nobody serving in this chamber can even begin to imagine what a completely scorched earth Senate would look like. None of us have served 1 minute in a Senate that was completely drained of comedy and consent. Even the most basic aspects of our colleagues' agenda, the most mundane task of the Biden presidency, would actually be harder, not easier. Perhaps the majority would come after the other rules next. Perhaps Rule 22 would just be the first domino of many.
Look, excuse me. I've said this before. The Senate is already a minority-oriented chamber. California, as big as it is, 5th largest economy in the world if it was considered a nation. 2 votes. Iowa, bumfuck measurement of nothing. 2 votes. It's oriented already to the smaller states. It's the thing that leverages the power of the smaller states in that one. Meaning the smaller states were there because they were going to be basically overrun. Well, they leveraged the power. Well, you don't need a filibuster under that circumstance. You already have a system that's already oriented towards the minority. And so the filibuster just adds another layer of complexity and complication into getting anything accomplished. Smash it and accomplish and push through America's agenda. But in this very specific case, if Joe Biden is basically saying, I'm willing to touch it, McConnell is basically saying, I will bring this place to a halt if you touch one pubic hair of that filibuster. Question is, could he do it? And if Biden said, yeah, screw it, I'm going to blow the filibuster away entirely and I'm going to pass America's agenda, whatever America's agenda is, what can McConnell do? Kamala Harris can be there just dancing, waiting to make her vote. She's like, bing, ding. She can stay there all day and do that. 51 votes, get things done. Win the midterms. Because, again, if you are doing things that are physically, materially helping the public, that public is going to notice. Oh, wow. I didn't get my $15 an hour, which I'm really mad at. But at least I don't have to pay for that doctor's visit. Because Joe Biden passed a public option, and that's a bill that I no longer have to pay. Or Joe Biden got rid of $50,000 in student debt. And that is a weight off of my back. It's not all of it, but man, it's a weight off my back. And this kind of leveraging out of all of the classes. Think of the number of kids that would rally to Joe Biden's cause in that next election to knock on doors and to stomp for Joe Biden, many of which probably didn't even vote for him this time around. Think of the number of people in general that as it cuts across all sorts of boundaries in the poor classes. What would they think? Who would they attribute that to? And us who still say, man, that's not enough, you should have gotten rid of X amount. Those people who are not necessarily instantiated in politics in the way that we are would see that as Joe Biden gave them a leg up. And when they went to the polls or go to the polls, they will vote Democrat, believing that the way to maintain that leg up and the way to maintain this particular policy of this particular agenda is to keep him in office. And this would allow you, as a Democrat, to keep the party during the midterms or past the midterms, which, again, if you get the presidency on the next go-round, you can maintain the agenda to which you're pushing, as opposed to if you lose it, it's done. That's why I keep saying blow the filibuster away. It only is an obstacle. I think it's the obstacle that Joe Biden wants, frankly. And that's unfortunate. Mitch McConnell is terrified that Joe Biden will use that option to blow the filibuster away and pass his agenda. That's why he's sitting here so terrified. He's terrified. Yes, he's a certain degree of bellicosity here, but that's bellicosity out of fear. He's flailing his gonads because he's scared at what he sees as a powerless situation. He's at the whim of the Democratic Party. If they decide to blow it away, they blow it away. He can't do squat about it. He just has to sit there and bloviate. And like I said, pass your agenda and you win the midterms. And you don't even need a big agenda. That's the wild part. Because the American public is so used to not getting anything, even a diminutive agenda would be something that the public would consider astonishing. You can get the public for cheap. That's massively unfortunate, but it's true. And in this very particular case, McConnell, and the way he's acting here, he never had to act that way when he had power in the Senate. He could just stand there and radiate. In this case, he can't just stand there and radiate. He has to flail his gonads. And flail him or not, I don't think McConnell has power to do any of that. And like I said, if they pull his card with that filibuster, his ass is just exposed. Joe Biden is not going to do that. But Joe Biden is talking about having the singing filibuster, where the person should just get up there and just talk for God knows how long. And you could just interject, get rid of the guy, and then pass your agenda. Meaning, on some level, bringing back that type of filibuster allows them a means of which to stopping that process in a way that this doesn't. It takes it more visceral. It makes it a cost. Because the thought is, it's not that the thought was that we want you to give a cost. It's more so, it's your time to explain to the public and to the body why you're right and why the majority is wrong. And to get that across in very strong terms And for as long as you need to get it across, until you are acknowledged, you are seen, the public can see what is going on, they can see the commotion, the ruckus, the media can draw eyes on it, and a decision on some level can be made on whether or not you can sway people to your cause. And not even just sway people to your cause, if you get the public to just get on your side on it, that in and of itself is on some level a win, especially if the public will punish people who decided to go through with it, meaning the majority. That's the power of the filibuster. That's the point of the filibuster. That's why people stand up for all that time and talk. That's supposed to be a benefit, not a curse. It's not what I want. But again, this is Joe Biden. I didn't vote for him. I had no expectation of getting anything. But if Democrats are looking out for their best interests, blow that shit away. McConnell, terrified. Joe Biden, at this point, confident. Make him sing. Make him sing. Get up there and make him sing. Let McConnell sing for 30 hours. Like, share, subscribe. This is so wild to me. Because they're finally getting to the point where they're undermining, on some level, things that they should have been undermining before. Like under Obama, the filibuster. They kept that filibuster in place despite the fact that it was preventing Obama from getting judges that he wanted in. And look, this is not me rah-rahing Democrats. It's not that. I'm just talking about from strict terms of if this person is playing and this person is playing, how does this person get an advantage? From those terms. Instead of them smashing it and allowing him to just get what he needed to get done, or for that matter, smashing it and allowing him to get his agenda done in full-fledged, they didn't do that. And many of those judges that Obama wanted didn't get in. When the same thing happened around Trump, that was not an issue. They smashed the filibuster and no, bam, record time. And Harry Reid, by the way, did smash the filibuster on some level. I forget the exact level that he smashed it, but he did go after the filibuster himself. But no, it was different. Yeah, we'll see. I'm curious to see whether the Senate goes through with it. Just because Joe Biden said it doesn't mean that he means it. Like, share, and subscribe.